And I'm just going to square up two sides to get ready to cut on the bandsaw. I'm going to be cutting the slots on the fretboard using my table saw. And Stuart McDonald makes these thin curved blades made especially for fret slotting. You've got to create a little slide jig though. And you may not be able to see, there's a small pin in here. And your template has got little cuts in there. If you can see the little grooves, and that'll fit right on top of the pin. So this particular template has two scales, the Fender 25.5 and then a 25. So I'll be going with the 25.5. So you'll slide your fretboard right underneath that pin, double stick your fretboard onto your template. Once you've got it positioned in the right spot, and you'll see that this template, you'll just move it from one spot to the next to cut your slots. So that'll keep all the frets spaced exactly as you need it. And you'll notice as I'm cutting these, I'm going to be making two passes because this blade is shot. Now the fret slots are cut, and I'm just going to radius the neck using my beam. Okay, now that the fretboard's been radiused, I started off with 80 grit just to shave it down pretty quick. Then I moved up to 120, then I finished it off at 220. My next step is going to be taking over to the drill press, and I'm going to drill for the fret markers. And this step could be done either now or after it's put on the neck. It really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of preference. I like to do it while it's off the neck. For fret markers, I'm going to be using these 5mm abalone dots. So the first thing I'll do is mark out my center line all the way down the fretboard, and then I'll run a piece of blue painter's tape just to make it easier on my eyes. Then I'll split the difference from fret to fret. I'll just take a measurement, divide it by 2, make my mark where every fret marker is going to go. And then either using my brad point drill bit or a punch, I'll make a mark where I'm going to be drilling. Then I'll take it to the drill press, drill it out, but I'm not going to be installing the fret markers yet. So now that I'm getting ready to put the fretboard on top of the neck, I'll explain what's going on. The measurement from your heel to the bridge side of the nut, which is this line right here, it's going to be 18 3/8. It doesn't have to be exact, but that's what I make it, 18 3/8. You've got room on your bridge to adjust a little bit for intonation if you're off a little bit. Now I made another mark from here over to here, which is the end of my fretboard. And I know I've got from the beginning of the nut to the end, I've got 5/8. So I've got a total of 19 inches from the end of my heel to where the top of my fretboard is going to be. Make sure you still got your center line drawn for your neck. That should have already been there. Then I'll install 2 little brad nails, one on each end, across from each other, and I'll snip it, just leaving a little bit up, about 1/8 inch or so. Make sure you mark your center lines on your fretboards. On the headstock side, I'll just mark it on top so I can see it. On the heel side, I'll mark it on the back side. So I'll match up my center line over the headstock here. Then I'll do the same thing on the back side. Just flip it over and line up your marks. So apparently I didn't hit record after I showed you what to do after lining up your center marks. So I'll just show you now. The only thing different is I cut the fretboard down. So after you would line up your marks, all you've got to do is give a firm push down where the brads are, and that'll transfer your mark over. After you've transferred over your marks, then you can just take it over to the drill press and using a small drill bit, just drill it out so it slides right over those brad nails now. So the whole purpose of putting those brads in is so when you're ready to glue this down, it'll keep the fretboard from shifting on you, because it's extremely slippery. Once you put that glue down, you try clamping it in place. So this way it's not going to shift on you. It'll just stay put. Now once you've got that all set, you can just trace around it, and then we're going to be taking it over to the bandsaw, and we'll cut it out as close as we can to these lines. Now before putting our fretboard on, we've got to install the truss rod. And it's recommended from the directions that you put a spot of silicone there on both ends and a dab in the center. Now I'm just going to scuff up the bottom of the fretboard and the top of the neck here to get ready for glue, and I'm just going to be using some 220 sandpaper. Well, I almost forgot to do something, and on my necks I'll make a little cover for the truss rod adjustment wheel right there. So I've got to route that out of this one, and I could have done it afterwards. It's just easier to do beforehand, and I just made a little template that'll go on the back side on the bottom of the fretboard, and I'll take it to the router table and just route that out. It'll be something like that. Okay, so now I'm ready to glue. First thing I'll do after I sand it down, I'll run a strip of tape down the center here so I'm not getting any glue on my truss rod and preventing that from working. Then I'll just give the maple a quick rub down with some acetone. Make sure there's nothing oily on there. And then the cocobolo, you'll have to wipe down multiple times. Anything in the rosewood family is a really oily wood, especially cocobolo. So I'm going to rub that down pretty hard a few times. so our glue will adhere to it nice. Now some people will also use epoxy for cocobolo because it is pretty known to give people problems just from using regular tight bond glue. But I've found so far, see all that oil that comes off? It's a lot of residue. So I'll wipe it till it's pretty clean. So far I found I've been having no problems as long as I wipe it down. I've never had a problem with any of the boards popping at all. There, you can see it's a lot lighter than it first started off as. There's always going to be a residue to come off of it. You just want to try to get it pretty light. Okay, so now I've got my clamps ready. I'll just spread the glue out evenly with my finger, put the fretboard on top, and then I'll be using my radius sander, which will fit right over the fretboard. And I'll put it on top and just clamp it right to the bench. I'll let the glue set for at least 24 hours on this cocobolo, probably maybe even 2 days, maybe 48 hours, just to make sure it really sets in and bonds well. You know what? I'm going to run some tape too along the outside edge here, just in case I get any runs. I just don't want it running all the way down to the bottom. I don't mind if there's a little bit underneath the fretboard because that'll get taken off with the router bit, but I don't want to be having that router bearing going over humps of glue, so I'll put some tape around the edge there. After it's all clamped up, if you've got any glue runs, I'll just take a damp rag and clean it up. And now we'll just let it sit.